Good afternoon and welcome to the fourth concurrent session of the day, Hawks Economics Software Demonstration. Our presenter today is Sydney Smith with Hawks Learning. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to enter those into the Q&A section at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we will address them at the end of the talk. We're also giving away 3 $25 Amazon gift cards at the end of this session. To enter for a chance to win, click the link in the chat to enter your name onto the prize wheel. And on that note, I will hand it over to Sydney.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Joanna, and thank you all so much for joining me today for my presentation. As Joanna mentioned, my name is Sydney Smith, and I'm an educational courseware representative here at Hawks Learning. And today I'm going to be walking you all through the online courseware system that we have available for our economics materials. So to go ahead and get started, I did want to mention the 2 different types of economics materials that we do have available within Hawks. We have our Principles of Microeconomics as well as our Principles of Macroeconomics. The courseware is available for both of these. We also have a guided notebook for both titles and the textbook, which is currently available right now for Principles of Microeconomics. And we will be releasing that final printed textbook for Principles of Macroeconomics coming here soon. But here at Hawks, we really want to keep costs as low as possible because we already know how expensive the college experience can be. So with that being said, we do provide our online courseware for both of these titles for $40 net price. And we also, that includes the online software, so everything I'm going to be showing you today, as well with the ebook. Now, we're also the only publisher to provide lifetime access to all of our materials. So that means that once a student purchases, they will never have to go back and repurchase. So even if they need to drop the course and repeat it at a later time, they can always just come straight back into their Hawks materials another semester, again, never having to repurchase. Even if they just move on to more advanced economics courses and need to come back and review, they can always get back into the software or the online ebook as well. And then lastly, if we ever go into a new edition, we will always update every student that previously purchased with the new content completely free of charge. So we really are ensuring with these materials that it truly is a lifetime resource for students. The students always have the ability to bundle the online or the guided notebook or textbook with the online courseware and ebook as well. So that price for the courseware and guided notebook bundle is going to be $60 net price, and then that microeconomics textbook bundled with the courseware would be $72 net price. Moving on, I just do want to focus on a few different of our core values here as a company at Hawks Learning, one being service and support. We really pride ourselves on family-style service here at Hawks. And that being said, if you ever choose to use Hawks in the future, we would provide both you and your students with a phone number to call at the beginning of the semester. And it is our company policy that if you call this number during our open hours, that is our company policy that a live person is going to answer within 4 rings. So that just ensures that we're going to get to your question as soon as possible and be able to answer right away. Because typically when you give us a call with a question, that is an answer that you're going to need right then and there. And that's exactly what we would like to provide to both you and your students. If you're unavailable to call during our open hours, we also have a 24/7 live chat that is available any time of day or night where you can message a member of our team to get connected with us. In addition to our technical support staff, we also have training and support representatives that are going to be paired directly with you and your school to assist you and guide you throughout the entire implementation process and also your entire use of Hawks. So we always are going to have a first line of contact for you with any questions that you may need and be able to assist you in any way throughout your use. Another one of our core values is just connecting with students through mastery. Hawks is based and founded upon the mastery-based approach, which is just going to hold your students to a higher standard in order to allow them to build a more solid foundation of the content. So today, as I walk you through the online courseware system, I'm going to show you exactly how we're able to connect with students through this mastery-based approach and how we're able to utilize this within the online system. And then lastly, I did want to pull out a few of our different engaging activities that you will find within the guided notebook. If you would like to receive a copy of this guided notebook, we'll also be happy to ship you a copy. You can actually ask to receive one of those today here at the conference by visiting our virtual bookshelf. But just to note a few things within this guided notebook, it is going to be a supplemental print resource that is paired directly with our Learn screens, which I'm going to be showing you within the system. It is going to guide the students with different note taking. It's asking the students to identify key concepts, and it also is going to include extensive graphing practice and a ton of different real world applications. So just an additional resource for the students to feel really comfortable with all of these different questions with what they're going to be learning throughout the principal's courses. You can see here in the middle of the screen, we have a few different of those examples that students will find throughout these guided notebooks. So we have fill in the blanks, on your own activities, short answers, test yourself, different graphing practices, microeconomics and you, which is going to just compare what you're learning right here within the guided notebook and textbook to your everyday life. Say it in a sentence, and then lastly, key term exercises. So I'm going to go ahead and pull over the student online courseware system to walk you through how students would be completing their homework assignments for these economics courses. So when they first log into their Hawks Learning accounts, this is always the screen that they are going to see. They can log in directly through our website, or they'll also be able to log in directly through their learning management system. Whether you're using Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, or Moodle, we do have integration with every single one of those. So you would put a Hawks link directly into the student's LMS. They would click on that link. It would automatically create their Hawks account for them, enroll them into the correct section, and then also give every student 20 days of free temporary access. And this is just going to ensure that every student is going to have full access for the materials starting that very first day of class, even if they're waiting on financial aid or maybe just need a little bit more time until they're able to purchase the materials. So we are able to give them those 20 days. At the top of the screen, you're just going to see some of our functionalities that are throughout our entire system. So we do have the grades tab, which is going to house the students' up-to-date Hawks grades. This is going to also transfer all of the grades over directly from Hawks into the LMS. So again, whether you're using Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, or Moodle, we do have that grade sync tool, which is going to allow you to have all of your students' grades right in one place. We do have the Ebooks tab as well, which is going to house the online version of the textbooks. We have a discussion dropdown, and the first option is a live chat. This is where you'll be able to host virtual office hours in the event that you or your students will not be able to make it to class that day. If you're in person or even online, just to connect with your students one-on-one. And then also we do have a discussion board option as well. This is where you can post a topic and students can thread their answers below to really promote that in-depth discussion outside of the classroom. And students can be anonymous on this discussion board as well. Moving over into the right side of the screen, we have our bell, and this is our internal alert system. So this is going to notify students of all of their high priority assignments. So these are going to be different things that are due today, due tomorrow, or even assignments that are past due, just to let the students know. We also have an envelope, which is going to act as our internal messaging system between you and your students. So it does kind of act as an email. So the students will be able to send you messages directly through Hawks, but all of these messages will be forwarded directly to your school or personal email address, and then you'll be able to respond directly from there. So you don't even have to come in here to check your Hawks messages if you don't want to. You will be able to receive them right there within your email accounts as well. And then we can also set up automated assignment reminders to remind students when assignments are due or even after they are past due. So they'll always be receiving those reminders, letting them know when to go ahead and get started on their homework. Lastly, up here in our dashboard toolbar, the students will see their name with a drop down underneath. We do have that live support option here. That is where the students will be able to get in touch with a member of our team 24/7 via our live chat that I mentioned, or also receive our phone number in order to give us a call. We also have a training video as well listed right here, where if the students aren't really sure how to use the system or they don't remember after we had a student training with them, they can always come into the training video to watch that to get a good refresher on how to use the system and complete their homework assignments. We also do have a give feedback, win prizes button. A lot of what we do here at Hawks is based upon the feedback that we receive from instructors and students. So we do encourage all students to input any feedback regarding the system. And we do a monthly gift card drawing as well. So that is an option for them to win a little bit of a prize if they do give us that monthly feedback. So listed here on our dashboard, the student is going to see all of their courses that they're currently enrolled in and using Hawks for. So I went ahead and pulled out our Principles of Macroeconomics materials, as well as our Principles of Microeconomics materials. And today I'm going to be jumping into microeconomics. But you can see there's a little mini to-do list listed here where the students can click directly onto these assignments to go ahead and get started on them, or they can click this blue View Course button here at the top of the screen. And this is going to take the students to their comprehensive to-do list. This is just going to show the student any assignment that you have assigned to them. So whether it's a Hawks pre-created homework assignment, a quiz, test, or even a paper and pencil assignment that they complete in class, they'll be listed right here for the students. By default, we have all of these listed by due today, due within a week, and due later. However, this is completely customizable for you to categorize it however you see fit. So if you would like to change these headers to specific assignments or units with those corresponding lessons below, you could definitely do that. Clicking over into lessons, this is where you're going to be able to see the Hawks pre-created homework assignments that we have for every single lesson throughout the entire textbook. So by clicking on each of those chapters, you can see the lessons that are available with the chapter reviews for those for each of those as well. One thing that came from our feedback that economics instructors really like to see is our Chapter 0 math review. We have heard that in many cases, students aren't adequately prepared when it comes to math and the content that they should have learned in their math courses to best succeed within their economics courses. So in both of our economics titles, we have placed in a Chapter 0 math review, which is just going to take the students through some of the basic math concepts that they need to have, that they need to be familiar with and understand in order to be really successful throughout these economics courses. Of course, this Chapter 0 is always optional, so you do not have to assign it to your students, but I think it is a really great way for you to see exactly where the students stand when it comes to their knowledge of math to best prepare them for this course. Clicking over into web test, you're also going to have the ability to create online quizzes and tests by using our comprehensive question bank. So you can pull questions in that we have already created to be added to a quiz or test, or you can even create your own questions to be added to your quiz or test. So it really is up to you. But these tests can be administered directly through the system, and the students will be able to take it right here within their Hawks accounts. And then you also have the ability to assign a Chapter 0 diagnostic assessment as well. This is a pre-created diagnostic assessment that we have already created for you. So all you would have to do is assign it to the students for them to go ahead and get started. And it is going to tie the specific Chapter 0 math review questions to this web test. So if the students reach a certain proficiency within this test, just showing that they have a really good understanding of the math content that is going to be covered within this course, it's automatically going to provide them with their grades for those corresponding lessons. So the students will be able to somewhat opt out of each and every one of those lessons that they already feel comfortable with and that they already have a really good understanding of. You also have the ability as well to create any diagnostic assessment that you would like from any of our questions and lessons throughout the test or throughout the online courseware. Lastly, up here, we do have our materials tab, and this is just going to be a virtual library of resources for the students. So you can post things here such as your syllabus, different news articles, videos, anything that you would like for the students to utilize throughout the course. But I'm going to go ahead and jump back over into the to-do list to click directly onto a Hawks pre-created homework assignment to show you exactly how students will be completing these homework assignments. And every single time a student clicks on a Hawks assignment, they're always going to be brought to this screen. And Hawks' unique mastery approach provides these 3 distinct modes. So you have a learn, practice, and certify. And learn and practice were both designed to prepare the students for certify, which is the homework portion where they will be receiving that grade. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of each, but beginning in learn, this is going to be the multimedia presentation of the textbook. So where we know how difficult it can be to get students to crack open a textbook or to read through an ebook, here we've pulled all of the textbook content needed for this specific lesson for the students to have a really good understanding of this overall lesson. We've also added in a ton of different interactive activities, videos, and things just to really keep the students engaged within these learn screens that they're not just going to find in a standalone textbook. To begin, we do have a verified Quizlet set that is linked at the beginning of every single lesson. We are verified Quizlet creators, and if you all are familiar with Quizlet, you know that it is a really great resource where students are able to create their own online flashcards for any of their courses, but in some cases they can be inaccurate because students are creating these themselves. So here we have become a verified Quizlet creator so that we know and the student knows that when they click on our set to work through these key terms and definitions within our flashcards, that all of this information is 100% accurate. So they can work through each of these flashcards. We have different study modes available as well. So whether it's learn, match, flashcards, spell, or test, they will just get additional practice with all of these different key terms and definitions that are going to be found throughout these learn screens. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation as well, our guided notebook corresponds directly to each of these screens. So just moving through a few of these, we do have different engaging activities within these boxes. We have things such as helpful hints, group activities, different tips throughout, where the students will just be able to become more engaged throughout each of these screens that they move through. You can see that there is a group activity here that can be utilized. And know that all these group activities can be utilized in class, but then also if you are having an online course over Zoom, you can always place students into different breakout rooms to allow them to utilize these group activities in that way as well. Everything found within these learn screens is 100% customizable by you, the instructor. So if you would like to add in your own definition or example, or even embed your own video link, you would be able to do so here by adding in a learn screen note. If you won't be covering anything found within these learn screens, you can hide our pages completely or replace our pages with all of your own content. So it really is up to you. You can also add in a ton of different third-party tools or external tools here within these learn screens. So you could always add in a poll by using Google Forms. You could use scatter plots or different things found online as well. We also do have on your own activities, which again are also found within our guided notebook. And this is just going to prompt students to enter in their examples along the way, just to give them those additional activities. And if you are going to have a face-to-face in-person course, you can always get the students to print the table to bring it to class for everyone to work on it together. We do have videos throughout these learn screens as well. So you'll see listed here, we have an example level video. This is going to be an instructor working out an example found right here within the textbook. And then we also have a watch button that's available for every single lesson at the top left corner of the screen. And this is going to be a lesson level video that's going to provide the students with a lesson level overview. So just an instructor narrating those key components that are covered in the overall lesson. And then we also do have Hawks TV, which is our open source video library, which is going to provide the students or instructors as well with all of our different videos from each and every one of our disciplines. If you'd like to, you could always pull in different videos from different disciplines as well to be added into these learn screens if you'd like to. There's another one of those group activities, and we have added in a ton of different content regarding the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So you'll find that here within our microeconomics and macroeconomics materials. And just moving through a few more of these screens, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of Learn. And after moving through Learn, the students are then ready for practice. And practice is just that. This is where students will be going to practice those similar question types that they're later going to see within Certify. However, here we do provide them with a couple different learning aids at the bottom of the screen to help them get through these questions and begin feeling comfortable and confident with answering each and every one of these. They can go through these questions as many times as needed until they are feeling really good and comfortable with answering the questions. But the first learning aid we have to offer is the skip button. Students can skip through questions to get to the ones where they may need a little bit more help. And then if they get to a question where they have no idea where to even begin, we see that typically students just need a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. So we do have this tutor button at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen that the students can click. And by clicking this tutor button, it's going to bring up our hint screen, which is going to take that exact question that they were just given and break it down for the students. Here, it's going to provide the key terms and then definitions of each of those key terms. Sometimes we will list different examples. And for this example, we are going to prompt the students with an additional question, just to really get them thinking through this question to go back and fully answer it correctly the second time. Again, we see that students just typically need a little bit of that nudge, and we hope that this hint screen provides them enough of that nudge to always go back and fully answer that question correctly the second time. If the students need additional help from here, they can always click directly into the Learn screens or click into Solution, and this is going to show them the question they were asked, the answer that is correct, as well as with a explanation of why that answer is correct. Students can always find that correct answer at the bottom left-hand corner as well, listed in red. So heading back into practice, we can also click Try Similar, and this is going to bring up a different version of that same exact question type. So you can see it's going to change the example and the content throughout by clicking that Try Similar button each and every time. I'm just going to skip through a few more of these questions here. We do have graphing questions listed throughout as well. And if a student gets to a question and let's see, they input an answer and it is input incorrectly, we are going to provide them with this red bar at the bottom of the screen. If the student knows exactly where they went wrong, they can simply click Try Again and receive a different version of that question to work through a second time. But we also have this Explain Error button. And any system can tell a student whether they're correct or incorrect. But here at Hawks, we have artificial intelligence that's able to explain to the student exactly why they're getting the question incorrect. So by clicking this Explain Error, that's exactly what it's going to tell the student. It's going to provide the answer that they just submitted, but then explain that it is incorrect, and this is why. It's because I found the demand decreased. Designer purses are a substitute for designer backpacks, which means that people will consume designer purses instead of designer backpacks. This factor does indeed have an effect on demand, but it will not cause demand to decrease. So ultimately, by reading through this really short response, the students should be able to go back and fully answer that question correctly a second time. By providing them with this customized feedback, we just hope that this is the type of feedback that you would be able to give to your students if you're able to sit down with them and go through every single question, which of course we know is absolutely impossible, especially in this online environment that we're currently finding ourselves in. As always, this Explain Error is going to be based upon the answer that the student submits. So every student, based on their answer, will be receiving that customized feedback. Clicking back into practice, one other thing I do want to mention is our Send to Instructor button. By default, it is turned off. However, you can turn it on if you would like to. And by clicking Send to Instructor, it's automatically going to screenshot a picture of the question that the student is working on, and it's going to send it to the instructor directly. So you will be able to reach out and just provide additional feedback for the students to help them work through this question. Exiting out of practice, the last mode within homework is Certify. And again, Certify is that homework portion where the students will be receiving that grade. So by clicking into Certify, you can already see, I'm sure, that it does look very similar to practice. And just like in practice, all of the questions are algorithmically generated, meaning that the students will never be receiving 2 of the same questions. But in order to make this a really effective learning tool, we have done a few things differently here in Certify in comparison to what you may have seen with other systems. And the first thing that we did differently is that we completely removed those learning aids that were just down there at the bottom of the screen within practice. So we removed Skip, Try Similar, Tutor, all of that, because the student just had the opportunity to go all the way through practice and utilize those learning aids, to rely on them, to feel comfortable and confident with answering those questions. So by the time they get into Certify, they should have a really good understanding of how to answer each and every one of these question types. We also want to go ahead and remove those learning aids because we want the students to prove to themselves and to prove to us that they can work through a set of questions from beginning to finish with little to no outside help. Because of course that outside help is not going to be there for them later down the road when they get to a quiz or a testing environment. And we've just seen in too many cases that students will be excelling on their homework assignments and receive 100s when the learning aids are there. But when they get to that testing environment and we remove those learning aids, they're no longer able to stand on their own because they were just relying on them so heavily within the homework, so that the testing scores and the homework scores are not correlating. So here we wanted to completely remove the learning aids and Certify to show the student transparency, show them exactly how well they do know this content on a per question basis. Now, the second thing that we do differently here is that we make the assignment mastery based, and we set the mastery level at about 80%. And what that means is that students must get 80% of the content correct in order to pass. And by pass, I mean they would then be rewarded with a 100% on this assignment for showing proficiency over the overall lesson. All of this is customizable for you as the instructor, so you could raise or lower that mastery level if you would like to. You could also change the questions that the student sees. You can add in your own questions or even just change the number of questions. But for the specific assignment with that 80% mastery level, the students have 11 questions to go through. Of those 11 questions, they're allowed to miss 2 and still pass, or I always like to say they have 2 lives over here within the heart. But if they do get a 3rd question wrong, or they dip below that mastery level that's set for them, it is automatically going to take the students out of Certify and place them back into practice, where they are then given a customized set of questions based upon what they just missed here within Certify. So this is a more adaptive component of Hawks that's going to take the students back and say, okay, we know you know a good amount of these questions, but now let's focus on what you don't know. Let's focus on those mistakes that you're making by utilizing the tutor and explain error and going through these question types that you are missing and remediate by using each of those learning aids that we provide. And then after remediating through those question types, then the students can come back into Certify to try again in order to reach that mastery level, and again, being rewarded with that 100% on this assignment. We do offer unlimited opportunities for the students to reach that mastery level and get a 100%. And the main reason for that is just motivation. It is much more motivational for the students because every single time they sit down at the computer to work on a Hawks assignment, that they know they have an opportunity at winning and unlimited chances to do so. So we really do want to provide them with those unlimited opportunities to get a 100% on this assignment. And again, when it comes to this mastery approach, I know it may be a little bit different in comparison to what you're used to seeing before, but we really do just want to hold your students to a higher standard by allowing them to build a solid foundation of this content. Because of what they're learning here within this lesson, they don't need to just know for this lesson or a future test, but they're going to need to take this as a lifelong resource throughout all of their economics courses and even in their future careers. So exiting out of Certified, I do want to walk through a couple other things that we do have available within the system. So going back to the course and jumping over into web tests, the students also have the ability to create practice web tests. And this is going to allow them to come in here to create their own online test to use for practice or an online study guide as well. So when clicking into web tests, they would just click Create Practice Web Test. They would simply name their test. pick and choose specific chapters and lessons they would like to pull questions from. And they can pull them from different chapters. It is just up to that student on what they would all like to add to this practice web test. They can set a number of questions if they like to, and also set a time if they're used to working in that timed environment. By clicking start, it's automatically going to pull a list of questions for the students to work through based upon the criteria that they just chose. And this is also exactly how it would look for the students if you were to administer a test for them within the Hawks system as well. Now, when it comes to our online quizzes and tests, again, you do have the ability to create those within the instructor side by pulling from our comprehensive question bank to create that. You can also add in those own questions that you've created, but we also provide Respondus Lockdown Browser for free to all students. So they would be able to open up this test directly within Respondus Lockdown Browser. That would make it to where they can't right click, they can't open a new tab, screenshot, or anything like that. So we really want to prevent cheating at all costs here at Hawks. The students can also answer.
Yeah. Interrupting. I just wanted to give you a quick 10-minute notice so that we have some time for questions at the end.
Perfect. Sounds great. The students can also answer these questions, of course, here within the practice web test. So I'm just going to click through a few of these here. They can also go back and forth between questions they've answered and not yet answered, or hide those that they have answered and jump around to these questions. And then they can also hide that time if that's somewhat of a point of anxiety for them to see that clock ticking down. And then lastly, when the student does complete this practice web test, they can click Submit Assignment. If they have not completely answered all of the questions, it is going to provide them with that warning. But of course, for this, I'm just going to go ahead and say yes to submit my assignment. And at the very end, it is going to provide the students with a performance breakdown on that practice web test. So they can go back and review each and every question that they went through. They can retake the test, but they can also review their performance by lesson. So it's going to show us each and every lesson that we pulled out at the very beginning of the test and how well that I did on each of those lessons. So if I answered those questions correct, of course, it will be showing green here within the bar graph. But here in 7.1 and 7.2, it looks like I didn't do that great. I do have some incorrect answers within the red. So I can actually click directly onto those questions or onto those lessons to bring up additional questions to work through for practice. And that was pretty much everything that I did want to share with you all today. As a reminder, you can always click into our virtual bookshelf today during this conference to view the ebooks for both of these titles, as well as the guided notebook as well. And you can also request those materials directly from there. You can also reach out to us if you would like your access to your own Explore account where you can jump in, review each and every one of these homework assignments as well. But thank you all so much for joining in today, and I'm looking forward to hearing these questions.
All right, thank you, Sydney. Before we jump into questions, I do want to give a quick reminder that the link to enter to win one of the 3 $25 Amazon gift cards is available in the chat. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to enter to win. We will be spinning the prize wheel after the Q&A. All right, so the first question we have here is, are there any additional resources for instructors? Could you remind us of where to find those?
Absolutely, great question. So we do have tons of different resources for instructors, in addition to everything found for the students within the online courseware system. We do have PowerPoints that are pre-created for every single lesson throughout the entire textbook, so you can utilize those for your lectures. We do have chapter projects for each and every chapter as well. Hawks TV with the videos for both of those disciplines, as well as all of our disciplines. So we do have tons of additional resources for you.
Great. And another question here, what types of customization options are there for instructors within the homework lessons? I know you touched on a few of those, but could you do a recap of those for us, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to summarize a little bit, you really do have the ability to customize everything within the system to make it fit exactly what you're looking for your courses. So as I went through Learn, Practice, and Certify, within those Learn screens, you have that ability to add in your own key terms and definitions, embed your own video links if you'd like, input Google Forms. A ton of different external tools are available to be input right there within the learning screens, but you can hide our pages or replace our pages with all of your own content. And then when it comes to practice and certify, you have the ability to add in your own questions. So that's where you could provide those to the students, create multiple versions of your questions by using our question builder tool. And you can even create your own explain error and tutoring feedback as well that the students will see if they click on that tutor button or answer the question that you've created incorrectly. And then lastly, just another one, that mastery or the mastery approach, you could raise or lower that mastery level if you'd like to. Pick and choose those questions again within Certify as well.
All right, and then we have a couple other questions here. Let's see. If a student misses a question, are they able to see the correct answer? And if that's different for practice and certify, would you clarify with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So within practice, if a student answers that question incorrect, of course, they are going to receive that red bar at the bottom of the screen that is going to allow them to try again, or they can click into that explain error feedback where they are going to get that correct answer. Now, when the student does get the question incorrect within Certify, it is going to tick that meter down for them. So it is going to take away one of their lives essentially, but then that's also going to be included from when the students, if they don't reach that mastery level and they're taken back into practice, the students will be given a different version of that question where they will be able to click into that tutoring feedback, explain error to receive that correct answer. So yes, the students will be able to see those correct answers and see exactly where they're going wrong.
Excellent. And could you also remind us, do students have unlimited attempts at practice and certify?
Yes, great question. So within practice, students do have unlimited attempts. It is a completely penalty-free zone where students can go through practice as many times as needed in all of those questions until they're feeling comfortable and confident with each and every one of those questions that they are answering. And then when it comes to certify, they do have unlimited attempts at certify as well. So as long as is before that due date that you have set for that lesson, the students can get in there and go through those questions as many times as needed until they do reach that mastery level. And again, to be rewarded with that 100% on the assignment.
All right, thank you. Next question. If a student gets a question wrong, are instructors able to review and provide credit?
Great question. Yes. So within the instructor side of our system, you are going to be given all of the reporting and analytics based upon the answers that the students are inputting. So whether they're answering it correct versus incorrect, you're going to see the percentage of that. So for instance, if you have 50% of students answering a question incorrect, you will be able to pull that up and even walk through that most commonly missed question with your entire class together. On a per student basis, we also have Certify Reviewer, and that is where you can review each individual student's certify attempts. So you can see the answers that they submitted and even that explain error and tutoring feedback that they received as well. So you will be able to review everything on a per student basis. And also if you do see that the student should be receiving more credit for that answer they submitted, you will be able to change that within the instructor side directly for the student.
And just to clarify, that's for web tests, instructors are able to update credit, whereas with the mastery assignments with Certify, they would not have that option since the grading has already been completed, correct?
Yes, exactly. Yep. So that is, sorry, I should have clarified, but thank you, Joanna. That is for a web test, and the students will be receiving a specific grade for that. And then within that mastery approach, if students do reach that mastery level, they will be receiving a 100% on the assignment. So that is a grade that they will receive there within Certified.
All right, excellent. And we have a couple minutes left. So another question here, if an instructor wanted to assign an essay question, for example, would they be able to do that with Hawks?
Yes, absolutely. So we do have that available where you can create your own question. So you can have that listed and have the students input a short answer essay or paragraph. But we also do have specific all-in-one paper submission platform called Smart Review. And that's actually something that we have that the instructors utilize within the English software. But we can have that added in as well for economics. And that is where students would be able to submit their essays, and you could even have other students peer review those, or you could review them as the instructor, go in there and provide the students with additional comments and feedback. So know that that is always an option if you do want the students to submit papers and have the ability to review those within the platform. We'll just have to add that to your account.
Excellent. And one final question. Are instructors able to create discussion board posts or set those up for students in this courseware?
Yes, absolutely. So right there listed in the dashboard toolbar at the top of the student's account, they're going to see a drop down that says discussion. That's going to offer them to get to our live chat as well as to our discussion boards. And by clicking on discussion boards, that's where the students are going to be able to see those discussion boards you have posted for them. So you can just post a topic and students will be able to thread their answers below. And then you can also the students can also be anonymous on those as well.
Excellent. And actually, one more question for you here. Does Hawks sync with any LMSs? Am I able to move my grades in to my LMS?
Absolutely. Yes, so we integrate fully with most common LMS. So whether it's Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, or Moodle, we do have that single sign-on tool that's going to allow the students to click directly onto that Hawks link, and it's going to create their Hawks account for them, enroll them into the correct section, and then also get them started with 20 days of free temporary access. But then when it comes to grades, we do have a grade sync tool as well, which is going to sync over all of the students' grades directly from Hawks into whichever LMS you are using.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sydney, for all the valuable information you've shared with us today. We are out of time, but if you do have any remaining questions, do feel free to stop by the Hawks virtual booth and speak to one of our Hawks team members. They'll be happy to answer your questions immediately at this time.